Beloved, let me tell you something right from the start. When God gets ready to lift you, it won't be ordinary, it won't be casual, and it surely won't be comfortable. Elevation from God is never small, because the hand that formed the heavens and the earth does not deal in mediocrity. If God is preparing to elevate you, then you'd better believe it's going to shake the atmosphere. It will not just change your life, it will shift the lives of those connected to you. But let me warn you, elevation is dangerous. Not because it comes from God, but because it comes with weight, with resistance, with enemies who do not want to see you rise. That's why the preparation is often so intense. You wonder why life has been pressing you, stretching you, and refining you. It's because heaven has already stamped your name on a higher level. Here are some signs God is preparing you for that dangerous elevation. Have you ever wondered why the moments right before your breakthrough often feel like the heaviest seasons of your life? Have you noticed that just when you thought you were about to breathe freely, the weight suddenly gets heavier, the nights get longer, and the struggle becomes more intense? That's not coincidence. That's not bad luck. That is a divine sign that God is pressing you, shaping you, and stretching you for something greater than where you are right now. Pressure is never pointless. Pressure is the preparation for promotion. Think about it. Diamonds are not formed in comfort. They are not shaped in silence. They are born in heat and pressure that would destroy anything weaker. You don't get a diamond unless you first endure crushing. You don't get pure gold unless it first survives the fire. And you don't get oil unless the olive is pressed until everything within it flows out. In the same way, when you feel the weight of life pressing down on you, it is not designed to destroy you, it is designed to develop you. Let me ask you a question. What if the pressure you feel right now is not a punishment, but a promotion in disguise? What if what you call a breakdown is actually the setup for your breakthrough? The discomfort you're feeling is evidence that God is expanding your capacity. The stretching of your faith, the pulling of your patience, the testing of your endurance, it all means you're being prepared to carry a greater weight of glory. You see, airplanes cannot rise without pressure. The very thing that allows a plane to lift off the ground is the pressure of the air against its wings. Without pressure, it would stay grounded. Without resistance, it would never ascend. And the same is true for you. The reason you're facing resistance is because you were never meant to stay on the runway. God designed you for altitude. That's why your life feels like turbulence right now, because you're on the verge of takeoff. Pressure reveals what's inside of you. Anybody can smile when life is easy. Anybody can praise when blessings flow without interruption. But what happens when the storm rolls in? When the job falls apart? When the betrayal cuts deep? When the money runs low, when the prayers seem unanswered? That's when the real you comes out. That's when your faith is tested. That's when you discover whether you're built to last. And God will allow the pressure to show you that there's more strength inside you than you ever knew. Don't forget, when God applies pressure, it's always connected to His purpose. The pain is tied to the promise. The weight is tied to the reward. He will not let you go through something unless He has already written victory on the other side of it. That's why the weight feels so unbearable sometimes, because the level you're being prepared for is beyond anything you've handled before. Let me remind you, the enemy does not waste his weapons on people going nowhere. He only attacks what threatens him. So if you feel pressed on every side, if you feel surrounded by obstacles, if you feel like the heat has been turned up in your life, it is because you are on the radar of heaven and hell. You are closer to promotion than you think. Pressure is the signal that something is about to shift. Pressure is the alarm that says a new season is breaking open. Pressure is the evidence that you are being refined for a greater assignment. Have you ever asked yourself why the people you thought would always be there suddenly walked away? Have you ever wondered why the crowd that once cheered for you no longer answers your calls? Why the circle that once surrounded you has now become smaller? And why the voices that used to affirm you have grown silent? It feels lonely. It feels confusing. It feels unfair. But what if I told you that this isolation is not abandonment? It is divine strategy. What if the very thing that feels like rejection is actually God's redirection? Sometimes God has to pull you away from the noise in order to prepare you for the next level. He has to remove the familiar so you can hear the unfamiliar. He has to strip away the comfort of people so you can lean on the strength of his presence. Isolation is not about leaving you empty, it's about making you available. Because there are some lessons you can only learn in silence. There are some revelations you can only receive in solitude. There are some visions that will never be born in the crowd, only in the secret place. Think about it. Every person in history who was elevated by God had to walk through seasons of isolation. Joseph was thrown into a pit and left in a prison before stepping into the palace. David was anointed to be king, yet he spent years hidden in caves with nobody but God to comfort him. Even Jesus himself went into the wilderness alone before he began his ministry. What do all of these have in common? Isolation was not a punishment. It was preparation. And here's the hook. You keep asking, why did they leave me? When the real question is, why did God allow me to be alone? Because when you stop depending on them, you start depending on him. When you lose their voice, you find his voice. When their hands let go, you discover his hand has been holding you the whole time. The truth is, not everyone can go where God is taking you. Not everyone can handle the weight of your calling. Not everyone can survive the altitude of your elevation. Some people are seasonal, some connections are temporary. And if you try to drag everybody with you into the next level, you'll suffocate under the weight of unnecessary baggage. That's why God allows separation. It's not cruelty, it's clarity. There is power in being hidden. There is strength in being set apart. Because in the hidden place, God builds character that nobody else sees. In the quiet place, he shapes faith that doesn't depend on applause. In the lonely place, he grows endurance that cannot be faked. You may feel forgotten, but you are actually being formed. You may feel invisible, but heaven has you under construction. Let me remind you, eagles don't fly in flocks. They soar alone. And if you want to reach an eagle's altitude, you must be willing to endure an eagle's isolation. Crows can't go where eagles go. Chickens can't rise where eagles rise. You are not being punished, you are being positioned. The very silence that frustrates you is the silence that's shaping you. The very emptiness you feel is the space God is filling with his power. So the next time you find yourself asking why you're alone, why friends turned their backs, why family doesn't understand, why supporters disappeared, remember this, sometimes isolation is not the absence of people, it's the presence of God making room for something greater. Have you ever noticed that the moment you decide to step into something greater, the resistance gets stronger? Have you ever seen how as soon as you dare to dream bigger, as soon as you commit to walking in faith, as soon as you choose to pursue purpose, suddenly opposition rises from every side? That is not coincidence. That is confirmation. The battle you are facing is not because you are weak. It is because you are dangerous to the enemy's plans. Let me ask you, if you were not a threat, why would you be attacked? If your destiny did not matter, why would the enemy spend so much energy trying to derail you? The truth is simple. Opposition is the evidence that you are carrying something greater than what the enemy can handle. The attacks in your life are not random. They are strategic. They come because your calling has already been marked by heaven, and hell is terrified of what happens when you step into it fully. Think about it. David was not attacked when he was watching sheep. The real opposition came when he stepped into the battlefield against Goliath. Joseph was not hated by his brothers until he began to dream. Even Jesus was not crucified because he performed miracles. He was crucified because his mission threatened the kingdom of darkness. The lesson is clear. Opposition always increases at the point of destiny. And here's the hook. Don't confuse opposition with failure. Don't mistake resistance for rejection. What you are facing is not a sign that you are going the wrong way. It is proof that you are going the right way. The storm around you is not a barrier, it is a compass pointing to where God is taking you. The enemy only builds walls around land that has value. If your path was worthless, it would be easy. But because your calling carries weight, the opposition rises to try to stop you before you realize who you really are. Opposition is also the training ground of champions. Muscles don't grow without resistance. Strength is not developed in comfort. It is developed in conflict. Every challenge you face is building spiritual muscle. Every setback is sharpening your endurance. Every attack is preparing you to carry more authority. You cannot walk into a dangerous elevation without first proving you can stand firm under dangerous pressure. The opposition is shaping you into the kind of person who can handle the next level without collapsing. Let me push you with this thought. What if the people talking against you, the obstacles standing in your way, and the battles wearing you down are not meant to destroy you, but to reveal you? What if opposition is God's way of announcing to the world, this one is chosen, this one is marked, this one is unstoppable? Because the size of your opposition is often the clearest reflection of the size of your assignment. Small calling, small resistance. Great calling, great resistance. Don't forget, opposition is not personal, it's spiritual. The fight is not just about you, it's about what's inside of you. It's about the generations your life will impact. It's about the souls connected to your obedience. It's about the shift that will happen when you step into your purpose fully. The enemy isn't afraid of who you were yesterday. He's terrified of who you are becoming tomorrow. So the next time you feel like everything is fighting against you, don't despair. Don't collapse. Don't give up. Instead, recognize it for what it is. Confirmation. Confirmation that your steps are ordered. Confirmation that your calling is real. Confirmation that you are on the path to something dangerous, something powerful, something that will not just change your life, but ripple far beyond you. Have you ever felt like where you are is no longer enough? Have you ever looked around at your life and thought, there has to be more than this? That restlessness you feel, that holy dissatisfaction that keeps stirring inside of you is not frustration, it is revelation. It is God's signal that He is calling you out of the ordinary into the extraordinary. Restlessness is not a curse. It is a seed. It is planted deep in your spirit to push you out of comfort and into calling. Think about it. A baby does not grow in the womb without pressure. At some point, the womb that once felt like safety becomes too small, too tight, too limiting. The restlessness of that moment signals that it is time to be birthed. The same thing is happening in your life. The environment that once felt right now feels restricting. The job that once felt satisfying now feels draining. The habits that once kept you stable now feel like chains. That restlessness is not punishment. It is God saying, I'm birthing something new in you. Let me ask you, why do you think you can't settle anymore? Why do you think the things that once excited you no longer spark the same joy? Why do you think you're losing interest in circles, conversations, and places you once ran to? It's because your spirit has outgrown your surroundings. You are too big for where you are. And when you are too big for where you are, restlessness becomes the midwife that pushes you into the next dimension. Here's the hook. Restlessness is proof that you were never designed to stay stuck. It is evidence that your destiny requires movement. It is God shaking your spirit so you don't die in comfort. Because comfort zones are dangerous. They feel safe, but they kill dreams. They look stable, but they suffocate growth. And when God loves you too much to leave you where you are, He disturbs your peace so you will reach for more. Every great elevation begins with discontent. Joseph had dreams that were bigger than his brothers could handle. Moses felt restless in Pharaoh's palace because he was called to lead Israel. David felt restless in the fields because a throne had his name on it. Even Jesus could not remain in the carpenter's shop because his mission demanded more. Restlessness is not random, it is always tied to revelation. It points you to where God is leading you next. And don't miss this. Restlessness doesn't always mean something is wrong. It often means something is right. It means God is awakening a hunger in you that nothing on this level can satisfy. It means he is stirring your spirit for a new season you haven't even seen yet. That hunger for more, that longing for change, that refusal to settle. It's heaven whispering, get ready, I'm calling you higher. But here's the challenge. Too many people ignore restlessness. They medicate it, they suppress it, they drown it out with distractions. They stay in jobs that kill their spirit, relationships that drain their soul, environments that shrink their vision, all because comfort feels easier than change. But ignoring restlessness only delays destiny. Because if God has planted that seed inside you, it will not stop pushing until it produces something. So when you feel restless, don't fight it. Lean into it. Ask God, what are you preparing me for? What are you calling me out of? What new dimension are you pulling me into? Because that restlessness is the announcement that where you are is temporary. That restlessness is the divine alarm clock that says, wake up, there is more in you and it's time to move. Have you ever noticed how doors suddenly open that you didn't even knock on? Have you ever experienced opportunities that showed up in your life without explanation, connections that were made without your effort, blessings that came without you having the resources to make them happen? That is not coincidence. That is not luck. That is divine favor. And let me tell you something about favor. It always follows the faithful. Favor is not random. Favor is not scattered carelessly. Favor is attracted to faithfulness like a magnet. When you remain steadfast in the small, when you are obedient in the hidden, when you serve even when nobody claps for you, heaven takes notice. And when heaven takes notice, doors begin to open that no man can shut. The same people who ignored you before will suddenly see you. The same ground that felt barren will suddenly produce fruit. The same path that felt blocked will suddenly clear. Because favor is the proof that God rewards those who don't give up when it's hard. Let me ask you, why do you think some people who worked harder than you didn't get what you received? Why do you think there are people with more talent, more connections, more resources, and yet somehow you keep moving forward? It's not because of your strength. It's not because of your strategy. It's because of God's favor. Faithfulness attracts what talent cannot. Obedience secures what effort cannot. Favor gives you what money cannot buy and what influence cannot guarantee. Think about it. Joseph was a slave and then a prisoner, yet he rose to the palace because favor followed him. Ruth was a widow gleaning in the fields, yet favor positioned her to become part of the lineage of kings. David was overlooked by his own family, but favor found him in the fields and anointed him king. And let's be honest, there were many others more qualified, more visible, more celebrated. But qualification doesn't guarantee elevation. Faithfulness does. Favor is unfair, but it's divine. It doesn't always make sense. People will look at you and wonder, why him, why her? Why did they get the opportunity? Why did they get chosen? And the answer is simple, because when others quit, you stayed faithful. When others compromised, you stood firm. When others let go, you held on. And heaven always honors consistency. But understand this. Favor is not about shortcuts. Favor is about positioning. It positions you where your own strength could never carry you. It places you in rooms you didn't have the credentials to enter. It brings you before people you didn't have the network to reach. It provides resources you didn't have the power to secure. Faithfulness sets the foundation, but favor is the wind that carries you higher. And here's what makes favor so powerful: it cannot be stopped. People can envy it, they can fight it, they can try to block it. But when God's hand of favor is on your life, no man, no system, no